Turn the volume off here.
Yeah, I'm gonna mute myself here too, just so that you don't hear the clacking in the records.
So did you want to lead this, or did you want me just to dive into it by myself?
No, just dive into it yourself. The whole goal is you guys would have open sessions for you guys to talk to whoever was there. So
Copy that. Let me. I have a file labeled Omar. Got it. Yeah, you're gonna have some lightweight editing on this one.
it'll be quick, man. I'll just throw you on a timeline and then add whatever I think I need to add on the top above it. Or I'll put that, I'll do like the thing and I'll put you down and put it like in a pip window. I'll figure it out. It'll be easy.
All right. So what we're gonna be talking about today is kind of show calling in multiple environments. Throughout the past year, I have pretty much lived that. I have just completed my 45th shoot this week, and I still don't think by any means I'm the all be expert on anything, but I sure have learned a lot. And in this kind of talk, I want to share the things I have learned with you and some best practices to help you be more efficient when it comes to that position. Now, first of all, the director or AD or show caller, whatever you want to call it, that role, it is a responsibility first and foremost before it's I'm cool or I'm in charge or anything. It's a responsibility to the end client and the production house that hired you. If you end up costing the production house more money than you are receiving, then what was the point of hiring you? Meaning, if I make a mistake that is going to cost $8,000 to $10,000 and I'm only getting paid two, what was the point of me being there at all? I probably won't get called back. So you want to do your best to mitigate those mistakes. Now, the first thing I want you to do, let me pull up my document. So, your job is to ensure success. Any errors on your part by way of miscalculating schedules or making the wrong call equals a loss of revenue for the production house. The first thing I like to do with that is kind of figure out what the day is going to be like and give a realistic kind of expectation to the client. So whether we're doing a virtual shoot or I'm doing an in-person shoot, or even if it's a live thing, there's schedules that have to be made, right? And because of that, you need to be realistic with that time. Usually more equipment equals more labor. If somebody's trying to, oh, can we just kind of lose this piece of equipment, or where can we cut costs? Well, if you cut equipment, you need to also cut labor. If you add equipment, you need to add labor. That way you're being on schedule with everything. Otherwise, you're just overloading more of your employees and you're not being as efficient. So, as long as you can understand that that is your job, if I'm told I need to get 8 shots done today, I need to have 8 setups done, locked, loaded, 2 takes of each one, or even if it's a live virtual thing, we start at 8, we need to be done by 4. I know that if I go to 4:05, I am now costing thousands of dollars by the minute for my inaccuracy by meeting that timeline deadline. So, the first thing I want to get you guys is just the documents I use to keep all of these things in line and be prepared. I usually start off with a storyboard, and the storyboard I can show you guys. And where's screen share? Host disabled screen sharing.
Stand by. I got you.
Yep.
Try now.
Cool. Okay, here's an example of a storyboard. Now, this is just kind of clarifying with your client how everything's going to look. If it's virtual, obviously how it's going to look is the most important because you don't have an audience at home, so everything is going to revolve around your camera positions. If you do this now, like here's my maybe a jib or here's a Zoom call, you can establish with your client all of those looks and save yourself all of that time when your shoot is actually happening. When you're going through rehearsal, it's not like, oh, we should change this and do this. Of course, those things are going to happen, but now you have a baseline. Also, Stick to your conventional compositions and framing. There's a lot of hearsay and a lot of like maybe this or maybe that. But if you, Omar, do they see you and me in this at all or just me?
They would see just you in this.
Okay. So a good example is this. If I'm doing a virtual call and somebody's calling in, if you look how I'm framed, this is more or less like a tight medium, above the waist, top of the head, low gap here. I don't want the next shot, if I'm clicking between presenters, to suddenly be this. Or I'm in the third over here and the other person was center justified. Now, if it's a conversational piece, we can have the person on the right justified, tight medium, and the person on the left third, tight medium. That makes sense. But what you don't want is people bouncing around to unfamiliar positions, and you don't want your framing to be erratic. You don't want full shots going to tight shots and mid shots going to, full shots, cowboys jump into a face shot. What you really want to do is if you have multiple cameras pumping in, multiple Zoom links, vMix links, whatever they should be framed appropriately. And if you look at your storyboard and you lay that out with your client ahead of time, and your client has already signed that off and said, yes, that's what I want. Yes, that's good. Then you, as the director or the show caller, have already set that precedent. It's already established. You're already going to save a ton of time. Now, I always start there. The next thing you need to do is you need to figure out with your client if this is something you're recording to tape, because sometimes if it's a virtual show, it may not be live. You may just be rolling straight to tape. If it's a live event, obviously, like those timelines are a lot more crucial. But if it's a recorded event, the shots are far more, you have more flexibility to kind of nail those. And that's why the very next thing I do after a shot list, the very next thing I do after a storyboard is I go straight to a shot list. Because in that way, I can give my client an absolute kind of here's what we can accomplish today. Here's what is reasonable with the crew and the expectation from you. So let me show you that. Cool. So what you can see here is a basic example of a shot list. And what I do with this is, okay, so how long is your program going to be? When you air this, whatever it may be, like how long are these sections? That's where you see the amount of tape kind of right there. And the blocking, if you know anything about film, is how is the talent going to be positioned? Where are the elements of the set going to be? Like, how is this all going to play out for your audience? So, when you have that discussion with your client, because you, as the show caller, the director, you need to be having all of these conversations either with the production house or if they put you in contact with the client, you're already having these way in advance. Trust me, I know you're thinking, well, this is a lot of pre-pro, Jay. And most production houses will gladly pay you pre-production to ensure a flawless event. If you don't do the pre-pro and you think you can walk in there and phone it in, you're going to have a rough day. It's going to be very apparent, and you probably won't get a call back. Anyway, back to this. This is a shot list. I live on the shot lists. I go through with the client, and maybe if anybody's seen any Q to Qs that any crew member has been used to looking at, like a daily production schedule, you're going to see like video plays here. Steve is on the stage from this time to this time. So you have those discussions with your client. And if you're recording this, you lay it all out here. And then you can reasonably tell your client, like, okay, like I think your program is most likely going to end around 4. And I can guarantee that to you. And if they're saying something like, well, I need it to end at 2, but I need all of this stuff to still happen, then you can lay this out in front of them and say, hey, then we need to change some things. Either, we're going to have to get more crew members involved. We need to add certain elements of equipment, whatever that may be, in order to ensure that these shots are all meant for you. And if you look on the right, I like to get 2 takes of all the shots. That way, if you're recording something, maybe one is better than the other. If you're editing it, you can kind of piece together different parts. Maybe a speaker misses a metric, right? Like they're talking about, we've all done the corporate shows where behind them is like a graph of, whatever their company's metrics are. and the guy maybe shouts out the wrong number. Well, in the second take, maybe he shot out the right number, and you can click that in. So I always try to build in two takes on all of these. And when I'm talking to a client and we're talking about recording their thing, even if it's virtual, two. I need your presenters to do their presentation twice. That way, you just have that much more ammunition. Now, if you say we need to do it twice, obviously that's going to extend the amount of time that everything's happening. And that's where those kind of expectations come back to play. So I've had some clients, someone like, we just don't have the time. We just don't have the time. And then you tell them, like, okay, we're going to knock these down to one takes a piece, but it is no longer the production's responsibility if there is an error made, if somebody goes out of frame, if somebody says something wrong, that they can no longer hold you responsible. And you've already laid down that expectation. A big part of your job as show caller, director, virtual caller, whatever it may be, is setting that expectation. You don't ever want to be rude, but you definitely want to lay the expectation down. That way, everybody knows what it's going to be. Now, if you exceed that expectation, awesome, for sure. But if you only meet that expectation, that's also awesome, because that's what they are expecting. That's what they are paying for. So I start with the storyboard. We make sure everything looks the way the client wants to look. Again, if we're doing vMix calls and Zoom links, we want the people framed up appropriately. And I could kind of show you here, right? There's a tight mid, small hair gap here. I'm justified in the middle. If we have two people, we can go right third line, left third line. If there's multiple people and they're all calling in, I recommend just keeping them in the middle. Avoid framing differently. Avoid one guy looking like this, next guy looking like this, third guy looking like this. You want them all to be able to cut in a very pleasant looking manner. So stick to your conventional shots. Also, I highly recommend looking up any composition books. There's an author named Gustavo Mercado I highly recommend. He has fantastic books on simply informing you on composition and why things are composed the way they are. Just kind of guessing and you're like, oh, like move your laptop around or do that. Like that's okay, but you want a better understanding of that composition. And I couldn't recommend that enough. You want it to be pleasant to your audience, especially in virtual when you're cutting 20 different people. Let me wait for Omar to come back. All right. So you got your storyboard. Everybody's framed up right. You've talked to your client. You got your shot list down. Now they know like how your day is going to go. Next thing you need to do is we need to turn this into something that every crew is used to seeing, right? You can almost guarantee yourself 9 times out of 10 that whatever client you're dealing with isn't going to give you a document that the crew is used to seeing. That, again, is your responsibility as the director or the caller, whatever title you wish to put upon it. But you need to be able to deliver something to the crew that they're used to seeing. That is either a daily production schedule, a Q to Q. So the other documents I'm going to give you guys, I will show you. We're actually going to start. I'll start with a daily production schedule. And I have a couple different versions of this, but this is pretty much the one I like to use. So if you look here, what you're going to see is regardless of the Excel numbers, I always put line item numbers. That way I can tell the crew, okay, if you reference line item number 7, there's always a column for line items. Disregard whatever the Excel numbers are, make your own column for line item numbers, and then those are what you call out. So I can say, okay, video department, please reference line item number 14, and they'll go to 14. They know where in the day that is. Timing, that's how long that section should take. Tape, that's if we're rolling tape, recording tape, playback, that's how long that's going to be. What the scene is. Are we in studio? Is this kind of a Zoom call that's coming in? Is this a vMix link, something? This is a general overview for everybody to kind of look at and understand how their day is going to be. Here's where your breaks are going to be. Here's where the lunch is going to be. And these are also things you need to lay out with your client. So you've gone over the storyboard with your client. You've gone over your shot list with your client. You also need to go over the daily production schedule with them so that they're not saying things like, oh, no, we need to just keep doing this. And you, well, I'm sorry, ma'am, we need breaks. And the crew actually needs to take a lunch right now because we're human beings and we'd really like to eat. So if you can address those kind of things ahead of time with your client and they understand it and they agree to it, then there's no big kind of, well, why is everybody going to go to the bathroom now? Why are they? Well, we talked about this and this fits in your schedule. Obviously, like you have to be fluid with breaks and lunches. You can't be rigid, but you want them addressed to your client and you want them to know, hey, we're human beings and we're here working together. So let's find a place in your program where we can put these things that align with your program. Okay, we just finished this section and there's 15 minutes before we start the next one. All right, that's a perfect place for a break. The crew can go, do what they need to do. If it's a bio, if it's a bit of food, water, whatever. So again, this is a simple production schedule, and I always have these printed out. Either myself or an AD or a stage manager will print these out, make sure every single member of the crew has one, and also make sure that the client has the same one so we're looking at the same page. Now, the next thing is an actual Q to Q, which is a really more kind of refined version of that daily production schedule. And let me show you guys that. What do you think? Am I doing all right, Omar?
No, you're doing fantastic. I was gonna actually see. Do you know the spelling of that author? Because I was checking to see if I have one of his books. Because I think I have one of his
I got
books.
one. I can. It's Gustavo Mercado. He's Gustavo, and then Mercado is Mercado. And this is the one right here that like is like a Bible to me, man. Where it's not necessarily like, here's how you frame up shots. It's why.
Got you.
It's all about the why. Like here's a shot, but more importantly, here's why it was chosen. And if you get the why in your head, then you could start making those decisions yourself.
No, I like that. I'll put a little sub thing about it. Just put that in there so people can look it up after they watch it.
Oh, it's man, it's such a good. It's a very long book, but it's like if you sit down, they really do like break apart movies in there, and they're like just still frames, and they're like, here is why. And once you get the why in your head, like you could literally just start using that on your whatever you're doing, man.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a good. I have a similar book to that. It's more of an illustrator, but it talks about all the frame shots and like why these are such good shots and frames. And it's like what you're doing with the hand movements and everything. That book has that in there. Like this shot. This is why it's called this. This is what people use this for. It
Right?
explains like all the like the leading lines, all those
Are the
little
arms
details.
meant to be in the frame, right?
Right.
And of course, we have to reframe that, or we have to pick a different lens.
Yep. Yeah, I know it doesn't do a lot. I think it's more of just like why they, not really the why for the shot, but why these are like the standard shots, and it goes into like different things with movies and stuff. Like when you're going down, you want to look like this and get this type of shot because it gives people the viewer the sense of okay they're going falling down this whatever. If you look up and you're looking up at a shot and you do this shot this way, it's all about the why we do shots this way, and so you have
What's
the
that
reference.
book? I'm always looking for new books.
Hold on, let me see if it's in the shelf here.
Here, put it on my Amazon right now, man.
Here, let me run upstairs to the bookcase upstairs.
All right.
Yeah, I can't find it, but give me a second. I probably still remember I have a list of books that I keep in
Yeah,
an
no,
Excel drive.
huge. It's a bookshelf right there. Mine.
Same one. All right, so let me go to my Google Drive because I have all the books I've ever read are in the list. So I tried to make an app a couple years ago, and I put all these like resources in there, and I got a lot of negative feedback for it.
Oh man, it's no good deed goes unpunished, man.
Oh yeah. Here, I'm gonna send you an invite to this. Copy link. I just sent it to you in Facebook. Let me know if you get that link and if you have any problems getting in there.
Dogs, maybe. No, I got it. What's the
Yeah.
name of the book? You remember the name of it?
No, but I'm looking through the list now. So if you get in the tabs, you'll see a book section in there.
Yep. Method of lighting the stage, augmented reality, bulletproof.
It should have all links too that takes you right to them.
Dude, this is great. Yeah, I'm gonna totally. I'll look through that later. All right. Let me know when you want me to jump back in this. That's a sweet list, man. You put some work into that.
That's that's 10 years of my life on a sheet of paper. Well, I mean things that I've researched at least.
Dude, you're really methodical, man. I like that.
I try to be, and I want to be able to like give back to people, but a lot of times, I don't know,
How'd your
man.
show go?
Oh, it went good. We positive feedback. There was a couple problems that weren't our fault, weren't our fault, but they were our fault in the end. But Venezuela apparently they were doing Zoom into OBS, and so we were doing cuts and stuff with vMix and with us sending them different Zoom links, and like we would do things that make sense for our location and the LED wall, but it would fuck them up because like they didn't have a preset to take it that way. So like it was our fault that we sent it to them wrong. But I'm like, but it wouldn't have looked right here if I sent it to you this way.
I
So
mean, yeah, if it's never discussed, and you guys had a rehearsal, right?
no, dude, Latin America, are you kidding me? Rehearsals, get out of here. we
Yeah,
had a we had a whole
maybe I got
day.
fucking spoiled.
We had a whole day for rehearsals, and like one guy rehearsed out of all the presenters, one dude.
Of course, of
Um,
course.
and that was it. Yeah, and it's like, okay, well, I guess we're not doing rehearsals. And then he didn't even come to. It was so stupid. We were there all day for rehearsals, waiting for them to do whatever they needed to do, right? So we did a tech walkthrough twice just to make sure we were good to go. And then the one guy that he practiced at the end of the day, so we got another 2 hours of overtime because of it. Because he didn't. He like we were here from 7 a.m. till 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. He decides to come at like 5:30 to do his rehearsal. All right.
Of course. You all gotta fucking sit around and wait on their time.
Right. So we did this rehearsal, and then we're like, "Hey, does anybody else want to do it since we're still here?" Oh, no, 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 it's okay, it's okay. All right. Then the next day was the show.
And then they bitch at you when it comes to the real show.
Right. Well, and that's what ended up happening. It was we had did rehearsals with us in Venezuela, and then when the show was happening, clients had different requirements or different requests or whatever it was. So I made changes on our end based off of their request, and then the changes that we made to compensate for the client there messed up Venezuela's feed. It's like, I'm sorry, man. Like that's what they told us to do, and we told you guys in the team chat and all this stuff. It's like, you guys knew what was gonna happen. Oh, but we didn't get to
Was it
see
the
it.
peanut gallery where there's like 7 people trying to like make decisions?
Pretty much. Yeah, yeah. So the second day, it got to the point where I got on comms and I was like, I don't care who's in charge of what. If it's not coming from Jenny, the client, I'm not taking your cues anymore. Because it'd be like, Jenny, hey, go Omar. And then, no, 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 hold on, we're not ready. And then, no, 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 but, and it's like, am I going or not? So then, like, after a while, yeah, that's why I was like, you know what? If it's not coming from her, I don't care who's saying, oh, but I'm the one doing XYZ. Great. Talk to Jenny before you talk to me. Don't tell me any cues anymore.
You have to. And here I'll save it. I'll save it for there. But yeah, I call it the peanut gallery, man. And it doesn't work. It
Nope.
doesn't fucking work at all.
It's too many people trying to be in charge.
Well, let me. Yeah. So now you put it back in my brain. Let's jump back into it.
All right. I'm muting myself now.
Okay. All right. So now we've talked about storyboards. We talked about shot list. We talked about it daily. Plug my laptop in. All right, we've talked about storyboards. We've talked about shot lists. We've talked about production schedules. Now we're going to talk about a cue to cue. And that's what you guys are looking at right now. So this is from a show I just finished actually yesterday. And I kind of deleted a lot of things out of here, like client sensitive material. But again, you're going to see I once again have a column for line item numbers that can be addressed. And I really do stick to color coding. So anybody in the crew sees yellow, they know that's a video. Different presenters kind of have their own thing. I have the MC as green and the other presenter as blue. I have my vMix links in here. If there's any video assets, if there's any audio assets, anything, I put, oops, delete this. The link is still there. Hold on. All right. So if you see, and I'll not click on it this time, where it says there should be a link, I put all the links to everything inside of the documents that I share with the entire crew. That way, the video department, they have a link to all their videos right here. See video, there will be link. The vMix call links will be in here. Any audio any music that they need that is outside of like a Spotify playlist or something, the audio will be in here in the audio category. That way they can go right here. See, normally that would be a link once again that they can click to. Any notes kind of go over here, like Kevin, he's our vMix operator and wonderful guy, but this one is vMix calls in most videos with land in the designated window on the background. Lower thirds will land below the pip. Things like that. There, Kevin can go straight there. He can see his note. He can see his vMix links. He can see his video links. They're all accessible to him in one nice document. So I highly recommend doing it this way. That way you don't have your department saying like, well, what am I doing? Well, you're going to play this audio file. Well, where is my audio file? It's in the document. Done. Well, where's the video? I didn't get the video asset yet from the thumb drive or the whatever. Nope, it just referenced the document. Cool, there's my videos. It's all right there. So I kind of keep this tight and I kind of keep this to the crew and keep the client out of it. That way they're not in there jumping in there and kind of messing it up. And like, oh, I changed this or I just did this. Like, no. Which leads me to a very specific thing before I show you guys my next document. Let me exit this. Now, one thing that I have not referenced, go ahead, do your thing with your girl, get your kiss. I love it, man. Dude, that's the dopest shit ever. Like, yeah, I lost my fucking wife because I didn't do more of that. But hold the fuck on to it, man. I swear to God, fuck all of this shit. Fuck this industry. Fuck it all. Put that person above it, and then do that shit.
I mean, anyway, you know me. I've been in that boat, man. I know where you're coming from.
Fuck, man. Anyway, okay. So I've shown you guys shot list. I've showed you guys storyboard, production schedule, and cue to cue. Now this leads me to something incredibly important, and that is an interaction between your team and the client. There should always be and only be one point of contact with your client and one point of contact with your crew. And those are the people that interact with each other. If you start having what I like to call the peanut gallery, where there's 7 to 10 people on the client side who all have their various opinions and thoughts, and they're all maybe different opinions and thoughts, and they're going straight to your department heads with them, they're bypassing you with those, it now just becomes a very clustered thing. It's not organized, and it's definitely not efficient. So you need to sit down with the client ahead of time, and you need to say, who is my person? Who is the gal or guy that I deal with on this? Because when it comes to the crew, I'm that person. Anything related to them, you bring it to me. And before, being in charge or being a leader or anything like that, your job is to be a servant to the crew. I say that often. I'm not only a leader, but I am a servant to the team. How can I buy the team more time? I always say that. Anybody who's ever worked with me has heard me say that at the beginning of every single day. I will ask every single team member, if you need more time, let me know what it is. If it's a video thing, if it's a prompter thing, if it's a camera thing, if it's an audio thing, let me know. Nobody's going to yell at you. Nobody's going to rush you. Nobody's going to make you feel uncomfortable if you just tell me you need time. Now, if we get right to the action and I say, hey, stand by for this, and you say, oh, wait, I'm not ready, I'm going to respond with, why didn't you tell me you weren't ready minutes ago, hours ago, a time other than right now? I will always say that. And the client will understand that. And as long as you have that one point of contact with them, they're not running over and interfering with the team and giving different orders to different team positions, because then it's not cohesive. Everybody's not fluid. They're not working as a team because they all have different instructions, and we all need to stay to that. Now, with that said, once you've established, hey, we have one point of contact with the client and we have one point of contact with the team, one point of contact with the team delivers the messages to the team, becomes the team leader, the team servant. The one person with the client, they deal with their end of it, like whoever that may be. You now can be cohesive. You now can work as a system, which leads me down to my big 4 steps. This is a speech I give every day, every morning, every show. I include the client with this. I make sure that they're in the room and that they can hear this. These are the 4 steps that every single shot, if it's a live event, if it's a pre-recorded event, it needs to happen this way. Number 1, blocking. What is blocking? Clients may not know that term. Blocking is when we're moving cameras around, or if it's virtual, we are framing somebody up. We are kind of working through there. If it's vMix, you have somebody that is onboarding those vMix calls. They're onboarding them. They're making sure that they're coming in clean. Their audio sounds clean. If we have plugins that are running that kind of stuff, that the plugins are operating, the computers are efficient, all of that stuff is working in the way it should be. And then if it's true cinematography and true blocking in that sense, that they know their positions. A lot of times, if it's a corporate show, they're not actors. They don't know how to walk across the stage or what starting position means or any of that. So we're addressing all of those things with the talent and the crew. Now, when those things are established, we go to step number 2, and this is rehearsal. Most of the time, if it's a live event, some people have been in front of cameras, but maybe, Karen in accounting and Steve in marketing, like they've never been in front of a camera. They've never done any of these things. And when they walk in front of a camera, more often than not, they completely crumble or flub their lines or their eyes aren't looking at the camera. These are all things that happen. You need to build the time for that. Specifically, that time isn't for the peanut gallery. That time isn't for, let's change a bunch of stuff. That time is for the presenters to get comfortable with the format that you are using, whatever that is. You need to have that time built into your event. So again, that can be a lot of things. The onboarding process, I consider part of rehearsal because you're talking through them there. Maybe you don't have time for a real thing and it's just a vMix call, but you don't want to be onboarding your vMix callers as they're showing up on the screen. You want them already onboarded, already familiar with the format. Their audio is clean, the video is clean. All of the processes that go with that have been established well in advance. And everybody is comfortable with that. The third step is either if we're shooting this and pre-recording it, it's shooting it. Okay, we rehearsed it, now we're gonna shoot it. We shoot it, we get that done. A big part of that and a big part of the rehearsal is prompter and script. Another document which I have, and I'll share with you guys right now, is a script. Now, most of the times, if it's, Steve, the CEO, or the the VP of the VPs, right? Because everybody's a VP now of something. They have a script, and you should have that script well in advance. Whoever is running prompter should have that script well in advance. And if you, as the director or the show caller, should you or and you as the director and show caller should also have a copy of the script so you can anticipate changes that are going to happen. I know we're all used to listening for keywords and things like that. Well, and now here's the video, or please let me welcome Mike, or here's Karen, whatever that is. That's usually what we listen for. But if you have a script in front of you, you can anticipate those and you can call them out to the crew. Okay, cool. I see in 2 lines, he's going to toss it over to a video. Now you're talking to the V1. Hey, in 2 lines, by his pace, that's roughly 15 seconds. We're going to have a video roll. Stand by for that. I always do 1-minute marks, 30-second marks, 10-second counts. 30-second mark, stand by. And then at 10, 9, stand by for video roll. 4, 3, 2, 1, go. You don't want to start delivering a million standbys because then they're just like finger on, finger off, finger on. It's very hesitant, and you don't want your operators hesitant. You want them efficient and accurate. So 1-minute mark, 30-second mark, 10-second call. Stay to that. Don't ever say the GO word unless you mean it. On any of your standbys, on any of your marks, you don't put it. Okay, standby for video, 1 minute. Standby for video, 30 seconds out. Video is about to begin in 10. And now if you're looking at the clock, the time that it takes for you to say, stand by, the video is about to begin in is roughly 4 seconds. I start saying that at 14 seconds. So if I'm watching a video and we're going to come out of a video to a presenter, I start counting that down at 14 seconds. So at 14 seconds, I'm going to say, all right, video department, everybody stand by because we are coming back live in studio in 10, 9, 8. But the time it takes for me to say, hey, everybody, we're about to come back, all of that, that's roughly 4 seconds. So if you do that, your sentence ends right at the count, which is 10, 9, 8, etc. Having a script in front of you is going to make that much more accurate. All right, got through the documents. But hey, that's literally, I stick to that. 14 seconds will be your lifesaver. 14 or 15 seconds in, that's when you are letting your departments know that 10 seconds is about to happen, because 4 to 5 seconds is roughly the time it takes you to just say we're about to do something. And then that still lets them know, get their finger on the trigger, and they're hearing your voice counting down from 10. So you don't want to tell them 5 minutes, stand by for this. What I'll like to say is, looking ahead, here's the things that are going to happen. I'll give you maybe a 5-minute mark, maybe a 1-minute mark, but looking ahead. I also try to never give any of my departments more than 2 things to look forward to. If you tell a department lead, audio, video, lighting, whoever, here are the 5 to 6 things that you need to, it's too many things for them to think about. They should only be thinking about 2 things at a time. And that's also what the Q to Q and the production schedule are for. If they need to look past 2, they can reference the document. Now let's go into some other things here. Have an actual understanding of the equipment. I think that's super important. I have worked with a lot of TDs, show callers, whoever that person may be, that really didn't get the gear. They really didn't. So it made their calls a little less efficient because they didn't understand the complexities of what would go with an E2 or an A10 or a Yamaha console. They don't understand that. They're just saying words that they here's what I know needs to happen, but they have no understanding of how that all actually works. And if you're that person, there's no shame in that. And from what I've found, no operator is going to resist you asking them. We're nerds at heart. I love explaining things. Anytime I've ever asked a department, like, hey, I don't really understand this. Can you show me and teach me on the off time? They have 9 out of 10 times been all about it. Yeah, absolutely. Let me show you how to assemble. I had a grip the other day. There was a dolly. It was a Fisher 10 dolly that I'd never actually built. And the grips are setting it all up. And I walked up and said, hey, can I help? And they're like, why do you want to help? Like, I don't know how to do this. And to understand the mechanics of how it all works, like, I think that would make me more efficient. They were more than happy to show me it. We had a great time. And I think that same concept splashes onto all departments. If you just walk over the audio department, you don't know, the complexities of that. Like, what is it going to take for this to happen? How long is it going to take to mic up presenters? How do you mic up somebody? Do you actually know how to mic up somebody yourself, so that you could calculate how that's going to go with your client? Do you know how the switcher works relatively? You don't have to be the expert. That's why you have the expert. But you should have a basic understanding of what it can do, which then you can deliver to your client. How many times have you, as maybe a department lead, a video or audio or lighting lead, within earshot, heard the director or the show caller talking to your client and then be like, oh yeah, we can do that. Oh yeah, for sure. And you're sitting there thinking like, no, we can't. If they were more informed, if you or whoever that person is was more informed, then they could deliver a better expectation to the client. They could deliver an actual, here is what is possible, and here is what is possible within your time frame. So I'm a huge advocate of really learning it. When I started getting into cinematography, I started working with a lot of DPs, and I asked them, I said, how many directors do you work with actually know how to assemble a camera? And they started laughing, and they said hardly any. They said most would come in and say, here's my vision, and here's how I want it to look, and then they would leave. I never wanted to be that guy. It's like, how do I learn this? How do I build this? And I promise you, it has made me a much more efficient show caller, director, any of that, because I have a broad understanding of the equipment. And you can then deliver that understanding to your client and all of those pre-production calls. Again, I laid out the 4 steps to the format for you guys. I think I stopped at 3, but the 4, again, it's blocking, rehearsal, shooting, and then reshooting. And the way I do that, and you make sure your client is there to hear that, because you can't be in the middle of rehearsal and the client's like, oh, like what about this? And what about like this? And just changing a million things. Like, okay, there's going to be time for that. And that time is not now. If you and your client stick to that format, then you can all be there. You want to get to step 3, which is shooting your content, whatever it is. If you're recording this to tape, because now you've got something in the bag. You've got something done. You and your team have already accomplished something. Because then when you get to step 4, reshooting, now people have all their ideas like, oh, let's try this, or let's do this, or whatever that may be. Okay, we have the time for that now. But you and your team have already accomplished something. You're not wasting any more time, because maybe by the time you get to step 4, man, we have 4 other things to do. We don't have the time for that. Because if you addressed that at the beginning and you went back to the peanut gallery with 7 different people with seven different opinions, you're not going to get the stuff done you need in time. And again, time is money. So the client has to be on board with sticking to a format that you all agree with. Maybe it's not those 4 steps, but it has to be something you agree with. They can't be, how many times have you had the show where they're running you up their 11th PowerPoint revision right before the guy walks on stage? How many times, Omar? Does that help? And then by the time it takes your graphics department to load that last PowerPoint in, he's already on the stage saying, oh, this isn't my right slides. What's this? And now you look, like the asshole. If you explain to them ahead of time that these things need to be a little more organized, that, if the guy's walking on the stage in 5 minutes, like, it is destructive to your show to have another revision at that time. So you need that laid out. You have to have some sort of format completely agreed upon ahead of time, not only with your crew, but with your crew and the client. And I usually have those kind of talks with everybody at the beginning of the day when we have a crew meeting and a powwow. I bring the client into those. That way everybody knows who everybody is and everybody just sticks to the format. All right. So this is another thing I've said for a long time, but this one is really dear to my heart. And that is what it means to be a leader in this industry. And if you're calling a show or you're a director, you're a leader. You're not a boss. You're a leader. You are a servant to the team. You are just another piece of the puzzle, man, but you are not any bigger piece than anybody. And I always tell people three things, man. If they want to do this job, if they want to be a caller, a director, they have to remember this. Number one, if somebody does a good job, they deserve that praise on their own. You can't say, "Oh, well, I was the show caller, I was the director." It's obviously like the show went well because of me. No, no. Like the people deserve their praise for their positions and what they're doing. It's not it's nobody's a nobody's a star, right? Everybody's a team. It is a very kind of team-based job and everybody deserves that. The second one is accept accountability. Once you start getting into really high events and high grossing events, you're dealing mostly with professionals. And if somebody is a professional at that level, they will see straight through your bullshit. If you make a mistake and you own it and you say, "You know what? Like that was me and this is why." Everybody will understand a human mistake. People will understand that. As long as it's a mistake that you learn from, you grow from, that you log in your brain and try to never make again, everybody's going to understand that. Don't be scared to admit when you make a mistake. What people won't deal with is bullshit. When you just start making, "Oh, it happened because of this and this and this." No, they're going to see straight through that. They're going to see straight through your bullshit. Oh, if you're calling like, "You know what? I made the wrong call." All right, cool. Like, how can we avoid this in the future? What can we do to avoid that? But if you're like, "Oh, it was," if you start blaming too, "Oh no, like he didn't listen to me and he didn't do that," or "this department," and you just, for one, you look like an asshole. For two, now you're ruining your crew morale. If you start throwing the crew under the bus, like they're not gonna want to work with you. They're not gonna want to like go the extra mile for you, work through a break for you, do any of those things for you at all. But if they see you own that mistake and stick up, everybody's going to work with you, man. This is a team based job. You want that camaraderie, which leads me to number three. And this is the most important. This is what I tell everybody. If your event, your show, your recording, if it's a success, it is a team success. The team kicked ass. The team did a great job. But if it's a failure, that's your bag to carry. You got to carry that on your shoulders. And if you can't accept that responsibility, then you're not meant for that job. Plain and simple. Because it can be boiled, you could spend all day blaming people. You could spend all day blaming equipment. But what you should have been doing is days before, you should have been going through the call sheet, making sure that everybody on that call sheet is somebody that you're familiar with and is qualified for that job. And if there's somebody you don't know, then you need to vet them. You need to call people you do know. "Hey, have you worked with this guy? Is he qualified for this? Can he do this? Is he up to par with this?" That's your responsibility. Because when the time comes and that person doesn't deliver, it's truly not their job, their fault. It's your fault for putting them in that position. It is. The equipment. "Oh, how come this wasn't there? How come this wasn't there?" Well, as the director or show caller, you should have access to a pull sheet. Part of your pre-production is you should have gone through the pull sheet and looked through there and just seen, is there any red flags? I mean, the client asked for another downstage monitor. How come there's only one on the pull sheet? These are all things you need to be doing. If you think that I'm being too serious, you aren't taking it serious enough. These literally things that I do. If you stick to that, if it's a success, it is a team success. If it's a failure, that is your backpack to carry around and take home. And I tell myself that every single day that I show up. All right, moving on. Go over call sheets. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna actually making a video on this tonight. I'm trying to keep some of these topics off of that because this is your video. But I am making one on like, all right, work's coming back. Like, what's some shit you can do? But here's two things out of the 13 on that list. If you're in a position of leadership, you should definitely be the first one there. You should be the first one there, last one to leave. You know, I say this. My bags are packed the night before. If I need a Red Bull, I buy it the day before. It's in the fridge the day before. My car is fueled up the day before so that the next morning I'm not stopping for a gas stop. I do all of these things every single day. I try to be the most prepared person in the room and have the most forethought. If people come in, you should be there ready to greet the crew, ready to get people in position because they're going to have questions. Oh, like, where's my camera sitting? Where's my graphics department going to be? Oh, what do I need for this? If you're there ahead of time, then you're answering those questions ahead of time, and people are more informed, more efficient, and on time so that when the clients walk in the room, you are already there ready to rock and roll. Also, which leads me to this. Lots of people in the kind of director show caller role, the minute the show's over, they like to grab their backpack and just white glove it out of the building. Nothing makes a crew love or hate you more than the white glove. I always stay for strike until a producer or production company tells me to leave because it's a budget concern. Hey, Jay, we can't pay you for the overtime, the extra hours. Like, you did your job, you're good. But you know what? I always try to put like an extra, even if it's 30 minutes, an hour. The crew sees me helping them. They see me out there. I take my nice collared shirt off. I'm in my blacks like everybody else there. And I'm wrapping cable. I'm pushing cases because I try to be a leader. I'm loading the truck. Like nobody is too good to not do that. And at the end of the day, when you're in a position of leadership and you're leading people, you want that camaraderie. You want them to care about you as much as you care about them because that's how a team works. Doesn't matter if it's vMix, doesn't matter if you're in a studio, whatever it is, help. Be a part of that. Be a part of the setup, be a part of the teardown, and help. All right. I went over scripts. Another thing that really helps if it's a virtual kind of thing or in-person events, headshots. I think headshots are hugely important, especially if you're dealing with like vMix Link, because we don't know what these people are going to look like, right? If you're talking to a client, she's like, oh, like Steve's calling in. And I said, oh, Steve is vMix call 3. Well, if you have multiple vMix machines all loaded and you have 8 vMix calls on this machine and 8 on this machine, and you have 16 people in front of you, you don't know what Steve looks like. Like, have a headshot that way, and then also make sure whoever your vMix operator is or whoever the video department is, and audio too, if it's an A2 role, they all have the headshots. Audio, hey, I need you to mic up Steve. He finds a headshot. Oh, I know what Steve looks like. He could pick him right out of the crowd if he needs to. Run over there and get it. vMix, hey, are we getting Steve on vMix Link 2? Oh, that doesn't look right. This looks like somebody else that wasn't my headshot. I think we got our vMix links mixed up, which brings us back to step 2, the rehearsal. And when you're onboarding them and kind of doing that, well, now you can fix that, right? Because you don't want your links mixed up. Your calls are going to be out of order, things like that. So headshots are super important. If you can, if it's any sort of professional environment, most of the time they're going to have a LinkedIn. If you ask your client, so then you don't maybe look creepy, like bouncing through people's profiles, ask your client, like, hey, could I please get headshots of any of the presenters and speakers today? I've never had any client deny me that request. So headshots, super important. Highly recommend them. Omar, you could maybe stitch that segment somewhere in where you feel like it fits in. But yeah, I feel like headshots are just stupid important, man. Let's see.
Yeah, I also get them too because when people drop out or the signal gets really bad, I try to throw a headshot up there and just let the voice play in the background.
Yeah, exactly that too. You guys may or may not have heard Omar, but he brought up a great point, which is also with the headshots. If your vMix link freezes up, They drop out, cuts out, whatever it may be. You can replace their square with their headshot that you've already gotten. Maybe you're only getting audio and the camera dumps or something. You could still salvage that portion of your show by just popping the headshot in. Now, I have taken the liberty before of gathering my own headshots, and I've done that exact thing where I've popped them in to kind of make up for that space. And I've had a client tell me that wasn't an approved headshot or that wasn't an approved client thing. So approve them. If you're going to get the headshots, if you do it yourself, make sure you send them to the client and say, hey, are these approved? Your best bet is to just get them from your client. Hey, can you please provide me with these? That way, if you do have to use them and they do have to go on air, they're all approved headshots. So that pretty much covers what I wanted to talk about with you guys and get you guys in line. At the end of the day, I can't emphasize enough. This job is about being a leader. You're not bossy. You're not yelling at people. You're not ordering them on their breaks, any of that kind of stuff. You're simply another piece of the puzzle. That's all you are. It's a big picture and it's a team-based job. You need to be a leader. You need to have camaraderie. You need to build that with your team. And that loyalty and everything that goes with it is so important and crucial. You need to be methodical. Trust me, the crew and the client are going to want answers from you way more than they're going to want opinions from you. Meaning, I don't know, like maybe this or maybe that. No, you should always say A, B, C. Or if the client has an idea and you disagree with it, you should always have an alternative. You shouldn't come up empty-handed. Oh, I don't think that'll work. It should be, I don't think that'll work, but here's my A, B, and C suggestions. Don't ever sit there with your hands empty. Always have something in your back pocket to pull out. Always make sure that the crew is taken care of. Treat yourself as the crew's servant. You're not above them, you're with them. And as long as you kind of follow the steps, make sure the expectations are met. Like I've said, the expectations with your client are met. You have one point of contact and you're methodical. You're going to have a smooth, or as smooth as it can be, event. Thanks for watching. Is that all right?
That was great. I may be a little off on the timing, but that was 40 minutes on my clock here. I know I started a little bit late, probably started 5 minutes later, but that timing was perfect.
Yeah, man, it's
I kept referring, like making notes and like, oh shit, what was the time? Okay, here's the timestamp.
oh yeah, slate, man. You can stitch this in if you can for me.
Yeah, I'll keep going.
Here, if you're still recording. All right, here's one other like crucial. This is just like a tip that you guys should have. You should always have, if you have the budget for it, somebody taking notes. So if it's a pre-recorded event, and this position is only if it's pre-recorded, it's not needed for live. But if you're doing anything pre-recorded, you should have somebody, and it's typically whoever's running a slate for you, taking your notes. Because at the end of the day, what I deliver with the deliverables is a post-production write-up. So if I'm delivering content to a client, if you're recording whatever your event is, if you give them a post-production write-up that has like, Mike messed up a line on this timestamp. And what you could usually do is give them a Blackmagic Studio assist and then keep everything to a 6-digit time of day. So hour, minute, second. You could say, oh, Steve at 040531 messed up a line. Like maybe we should revisit that. Or, Karen at 021106. Like the graph wasn't there behind her or whatever it is. There's somebody there that is managing the continuity and the notes of it all, and they're logging that all day so that you can then take that log, you can create a post-production write-up that you can give to your client, and they can read through that and see if it's, justified or not to fix. I think it's super valuable. Half the time there's the budget for that, and half the time there's not. But it certainly helps if you have that person there, and that person can be, they don't have to be the best person. They just have to have an understanding of, I think I messed up the word, or this slide's not right, or whatever. But having those notes and then delivering that to your client, I've had so many clients be like, what? Really? You did that for me? and it just pumps you up. It just takes your production to that next level. You now are just completely pumped up.
That's perfect. I'll add that at the end as a tidbit. Can we also just do one thing of you saying, "Hey, my name is Jay Clark. I'm the owner of Kinetic Productions, and this is my talk about virtual show calling." And then I'll do like a intro with that, and then a cut to something, and then come back to you. And then every time you did those breaks where you were going to the next template, whatever, I'll do cuts for that, and like, okay, now we're talking about this, so people follow along and they keep track of stuff.
Cool, man. Let me know when you want me to do it.
Yeah, you can go ahead in 3, 2.
How's it going? My name is Jay Clark. Professionally, I use my legal name, which is John Clark. I'm a director, a TD, and a virtual show caller, as well as a live show caller. I've worked in this industry for about 12 years in various departments, and I've worked my way up to this position of leadership. In this talk, I'm going to kind of go over some of my best practices and what I've learned over the years to help me be more proficient and efficient at this position. So pay attention. Hopefully you take a couple good nuggets away. Thanks for watching.
That was perfect. And then just for clarification, now that I'm thinking about it for lower thirds, what do you want me to use, Jay Clark or John Clark?
Use John.
John Clark?
Yep.
And then you want me to use the Kinetic Productions? Is that what you use? That's your whole company?
No, I work for so many different companies now that like my company doesn't really matter anymore.
So what do you want me to put you? Freelance producer, freelance technical director?
You can just
Or just use John Clark?
You can just use John Clark, but director.
John Clark director? Okay.
I've used more than anything lately.
All right, so when we do that intro shot, I'll do lower third that says John Clark, and underneath that says director.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
That's perfect.
All right, I think we're good. I got enough footage here. I could probably splice it up to make it another.
And then yeah, let me send you those assets too, right?
Yeah. Oh, and here
Because you can on your platform, you're gonna have like a folder that they can download that, right?
100%. Yep.
You want me to drop it in the chat? Is that?
Oh no, that's the book I was telling you about that I have, which I think the reason I couldn't find it in my mind, I had a different color in my mind I was looking for.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, that book was really, and it's very visual too.
Is this in Spanish?
It should be in English. Here, I'll send it again from my side. Oh, well, my side's in Spanish, so you're seeing it from my side. Yeah, I'll translate to English and then I'll resend it to you.
My Spanish has gotten worse. It was really good there for a long time. But...
No worries, no worries. Here, I resend it. See if that one's in English.
No, but I can add the card, and it should add to my English card, right?
Yeah, and you can click on it. It'll show you some pages, and you can just see like it's got these illustrations, and it does the blocking in there, and it talks about them. It's really neat, man. This book, when I first read it in college, was like, I was like, damn, this is what I needed. Like, I know how to use a camera already, but this is like, okay, how do you use this camera to get shots that make sense to the viewer? And there's so many little things that I never thought about. Like a shot from above makes you look like you're powering over somebody. A shot from above makes the viewer look like they're over them, like they're in power. They're like little things like that you don't think about until you start doing it.
Position of power, right?
Yeah.
Trying to portray him as a hero or a villain.
Right.
All of those things are, if we're looking down on somebody, like they're either the villain or we're trying to portray him as bad or small.
Right. Yeah, and it's got all these little things like he'll do like I don't know. You gotta, if you get the book, man, I promise you'll like it. It's very graphical. So there's a lot of things. It's not just like what I hate the most, right? Is when you read a book that's very, very technical, but there's no imagery to like, okay, well, what is that? What's the reference to this? Because if I don't know what you're talking about, your examples aren't helping me. Right. And this one has tons of that, tons of visuals. So like, hey, we're talking about this. Here's what it would look like. Here's a wide shot, and you zoom in and get this shot, and it would look like this. And you're like, oh, okay.
No, I just put it in my cart.
Nice.
This other one I was showing you is kind of the same thing where they break apart like famous movies and why. Like the one with like The Matrix is like Keanu's here and Agent Smith is here, and they're like, well, how come they're not here or here? How come they're at the very, very extent of the frame? And that's because the audience knows there's only one direction for them to go.
Right.
Towards each other. You're not showing the audience any way of escape. You're only showing them they can only collide.
So I told my girl I was hungry, and I'm like, I'm sort of hungry. And she's like, yeah. just made a whole fucking mountain of food. We're sharing this?
No, it looked pretty when I started, but then I tried to get creative. Anyway.
All right, man.
Jealous, dude? Jesus. Hold the plate up again. Let me see that shit.
By the way,
It looked really
I should
pretty.
add she's vegan, so like her making the chicken for me, I appreciate it.
Yeah, see, seasoned chicken. Oh, man.
Broccoli, I don't know, is that pinto beans? Some beets.
It's red beans, wild mushrooms, carrots, Brussels sprouts mixed in with rice and
You already know what
chicken.
I'm gonna say, dog. Don't fuck that shit up.
I try not to, trust me. But like you're saying, well, I'm lucky. So the only sucky part about our relationship is that she does the wedding side. So like our industries are complete opposite. So when I slow down, she gets busy, and when she slows down, I get busy. That's the only downside about this whole relationship.
Summer's right here, man. She's probably busy as hell. We're on our way to be.
Yeah.
Summer
Yeah.
weddings that didn't happen last year.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what's happening. There's like an insane amount of weddings all happening at once.
Man, no rest for the wicked.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I was supposed to get married last year. I know how that goes.
Were you?
Yeah,
Aw. Did you guys end up figuring something out?
we are still friends.
Oh, okay, got it.
It went that direction.
Got it.
But she didn't bring me like full ass plates of food for lunch.
I tell him, I said, I know you know how lucky you are, but I think you should talk to other people so that you can really get the full imagination of what you really have.
Yeah, but it goes both ways. It goes both ways.
You broke up. What?
When he's gone for like a week at a time.
See how it goes, it muted when he started talking about you? Notice we couldn't hear him. I'm just saying.
No. This man will love you to death, but when he goes on like a week-long show and like his phone isn't necessarily in his pocket the whole time, you gotta have some patience with him too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she did great. I went to Texas. All right, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right, hey, you both have great. Love each other.
Thank you.